seminar or webinar. We appreciate you taking time to join us. I'm going to start out with a brief presentation, just kind of outlining some of the difficulties that accounts payable departments face today and the solution that we have that can kind of help that. And then once I've done the presentation, then Alan is going to go through a demonstration of the Abby product, which is a data capture, AP automation process. So to get started, just to give you a little bit about us, Information Management Services, we've been in business for 30 years. We're one of Kodak's top resellers in the country. We're one of Abby's premier partners. There's only 18 of us in the country. And we really are document capture specialists, advanced capture solutions, from everything from data extraction, document OCR, all those things associated with capturing information off of documents as you bring them into your system. We have a professional services group. We do document scanners and maintenance. We have an outsourcing conversion bureau where we can actually do some of these things for our customers. We really do have great customer retention. We've been in this business a long time, and we really take making our customers happy and taking care of them a priority in what we do. And we are very customer focused. So that's just a little bit about us. And again, we appreciate you joining us today. So let's talk a little bit about your world and the concerns that many accounting or finance departments face today. And really one of the biggest ones is they survey AP people, and that is just the cost of processing invoices. If you talk to PayStream advisors, they say it can cost upwards of $15 per invoice just for the process, to get those processes into their system. So that is a big concern. Visibility to invoices, the problems we have with invoices coming in that end up on someone's desk, or they come in directly to the buyer and they end up on someone's email inbox, and that no one can really see what invoices are out there at any given time. We also need to decrease our cycle time, try to take advantage of discounts that are given, make sure that we're getting things paid on time so that I can improve my cash management. The more I know about what's going on, the better I can manage my money. So those are kind of the pressures that we're facing. And so as they talk to different finance folks, what are the projects, what are the things that you're trying to get accomplished this year? 55% of them are looking at how do we automate our AP process. You have 54% are saying how do we standardize this so we do everything the same way. A lot of companies today are getting invoices into different places, and those are all handled differently depending on where they enter the company at. So if it comes in at a branch office or a regional office, those are handled different than ones that come in directly to the accounting department, as opposed to sometimes invoices get sent to the actual users, if you have renewals and maintenance and things like that. So we want to try to get a more standardized process. We also want to look at what we're doing internally, make sure we're following the best practices and we're really as efficient as we can be. And then we integrate e-solutions, and we're really seeing a push to centralize that AP process. If you've got multiple offices around the country, a lot of places are looking hard at how do we get that all into one place. So when you think about those things, the pressures that you're feeling and what you're trying to accomplish, you're really looking for trying to get better efficiencies, better visibility, and more control of your process. So let's look at efficiency, and that's just the cost. There's certainly high costs involved in the manual data entry from the invoices that are coming into you. Opportunities for errors, and it's redundant work. Okay, you're paying skilled people good wages to really do a lot of this data entry, and it's just it's wasteful, and it's a place that there's a lot of money being spent today that could be used other ways. So when you introduce an automated system, you really do get great efficiencies in entry. You're going to greatly reduce the cost of your data entry into those systems and put those skilled AP folks to work doing more productive things, more high-value things. So that's the first thing that we look at. So secondly, you look at the visibility. And we talked about the fact that invoices come in, they're sitting on somebody's desk or in somebody's inbox, and I can't see as a manager or as a controller or a CFO, I can't see really what our total outstanding balances are. I don't know what we owe. and I can't see them well enough to plan ahead, which really hurts me in trying to forecast what we're doing. So by bringing documents in the system, or the AP into the automated system, I'm going to get those captured right up front. I'm going to get the data from them right up front, and now I'm going to have much better visibility as to what my outstanding balances are and what we owe going forward. Okay. The third thing we're going to try to address is, how do you introduce control? You got approval processes. If you're passing paper through the company to get them approved, that's a difficult thing to manage and to stay on top of. You get delays, you have lost invoices, there's overhead, and frankly, at the end of the day, if you're not paying your suppliers on time, it causes your business problems because, let's face it, that is the lifeblood of our company, that relationship between your suppliers and you to make sure you can deliver what you need to on time. You don't want to upset that relationship, and paying late on a steady basis really does upset those kinds of relationships. So again, by automating the process, you can really trigger, an automated process approval. You'll be able to see them. You'll be able to act on them quicker. You'll be able to get them approved quicker and then paid on time, taking advantage maybe of some discounts, but more importantly, just making sure that you're keeping on top of your payables. So those are some of the things that people are looking to have in an automated AP system. And then the final part of that is you want to implement something that can work with what you already have. No one wants to go in and rip out, your accounting system or other things that you already have in place, your workflow systems. What you want to look for is something that you can plug in that is going to complement and work with the things that you already have. And so that's really what we're here to talk about, is kind of a solution that can answer these questions or these issues that everybody is facing. So this is a very busy diagram, and I'm going to go through this quickly. This is just kind of an overview of how today a lot of manual processing comes in. So first of all, if you got things up here that are coming into the branch office, they're coming in by paper, you may be having those mailed to the central office. They're coming in by PDF, those have to get forwarded to a central office or central location, and there's delays in that happening. And then within the main office, you guys have things coming in the mailroom. You have PDFs coming into the mailroom or into the company that are PDFs of the invoice. As I said, a lot of times you're getting PDFs that are going directly to the purchaser or to the user. So they're sitting out there. Then, of course, the ones that are coming in by PDF or paper to you at the accounts payable department, those are all coming in. And it just takes time to accumulate those, track them, and get them done. We've got to get them reviewed, then we've got to get them approved and coded, which takes time to do. Then you get data into your systems, do the manual data entry of all that information, and then pass along to your line of business, your ERP, and the archives of the images. And so you're looking at a 5 to 20 day per invoice to get that process taken care of. So by implementing a data capture solution, first of all, we don't have to worry about mailing anything anymore because we're going to capture those things electronically wherever they enter your office. So if they come into a branch office or a regional office, they can be scanned there and submitted. Everything here as it comes into the company is going to go directly into the system. Whether it's an email coming directly in or it's a piece of paper that comes in that you scan, we're going to have that into the system right away. We'll get the data read from it, verified, and now you're going to have great visibility to what you have. And then by implementing that into approval and coding, we can decrease the amount of time because we're not moving the paper around. And the main thing here is you're going to have less staff involved. It's going to take fewer people to get the data entered into your system and get the process moving. So that's kind of where the data capture piece really helps. That's the improvement places that you're going to see. And so here's just kind of a general outline of what an automated process might look like. The beauty here is that if I'm going to be receiving emails of invoices, I can set up an email account and we can monitor that account, and as those emails come in, we will grab them immediately and pull them into the process, read the data off of them, and move them along. So now you don't have to worry about, did someone forward that, did I get it printed out, did I get the data entered off of it? This all becomes an automatic process. So now you can have an AP at yourcompany.com, and we'll monitor that email address and pull them into the system. You also could have your regional remote places scan the documents in via web. So through a web connection, they can connect to your system and be able to scan those documents directly in from their location. So again, it gets them into your system quicker and improves that visibility and shortens the cycle of time it takes to get them completed. And then within the office, we can scan them in from all these different ways that you may get them. As we said, the email's coming directly in. And so this is immediate. As soon as we get it, we're reading the information off of the invoice, and we're processing it and putting it into your systems. So now our verification is much quicker. I'm now automated, so my invoice approval, my coding is much quicker. So I've been able to shorten this time dramatically while I'm improving the accuracy of what I'm doing, and I've decreased my cost. So there's great value in a process like this. So if you look at a lot of the different studies that have gone on, people that have implemented these types of systems have shown more than 2 times reduction in their processing costs and more than 50% faster in processing those invoices. So dramatic improvements in what they're doing. You're decreasing costs and decreasing the time it takes to get this done. So the solution that we have and want to present to you today is from Abby. It's Abby FlexiCapture for Invoices. It's a turnkey solution that was designed specifically for accounts payable. It really is driven to help your productivity and decrease your costs. So it eliminates that paper handling, coming in and all that manual data entry. That's where the majority of the cost is incurred. It's just getting the paper into the company, processed, and entered into your initial system. It gives you the early capture of invoices. You can centralize the extraction, and we can validate the data as we are extracting it. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. For those that are coming through that are matching up to a PO, if we can match those to your PO, and if they all match up, we can process them straight through, so no one ever has to touch them, right into your approval process. And the other thing is it works with your existing AP and ERP systems, as well as any document management systems that you might have. So again, we're talking about something that we're going to plug into what you're doing today, not really replace the systems that you already have in place. Okay. So here's just a basic drawing of kind of how it works. If you are getting things in EDI or XML, those you're already probably taking directly into your system, into your ERP. But for everything else that's coming in by PDF or coming in paper-based, we can set up the email address, the PDF copies of the invoice can be emailed directly in the system, or you can upload them into a folder and we can pick them up from there. And then anything that's coming paper-based, you can scan with your MFPs, document scanners, you can do web capture, we can even do mobile capture where you can take pictures with your phone or iPad and upload those to be processed. So once all the information comes in, we're going to do intelligent recognition. We're going to do automated checks where we're going to verify the data as we're doing it. And then if we have POs, we're going to be able to do PO and contract matching. Okay? So those are the kind of the processes. Once that's done, we can do reviews or make corrections, and then it's off to your workflow or ERP. So this is the way a system kind of looks in a very high level. So let's just talk a little bit about the pieces of that. So the first thing is, how do we get the invoices into the system? And as we said before, we can email, we can scan, we can load into a folder that we can monitor. We can bring things in from a fax server. If you have write fax, we can do that, and from your mobile devices. So if you've got phones like we talked about. So there's lots of ways we can get the invoice information into the system, okay, which that speeds things up, makes it easy to use. So once it's into the system and we've read all the data off of it, well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do an automatic buyer identification. We're going to do a matching to your existing data. So we're going to look at data in your ERP or in your accounting system and say, does the XYZ company exist? And we're going to find that match. And then we're going to verify that that company does exist in your data and the address matches the addresses that we read from the document so that we know that we've got a good invoice and we're reading the right information off of it and who it's from. We also can determine what business unit that this particular invoice should be coded to. So based on maybe addresses or different codes within it, phone numbers, names, we can use that same type of data to match up the right business unit. So now we'd be able to verify that when we read the information off of the invoice, it matches the existing information in your ERP, and that way we can bring it forward. If you have multiple names, we can do fuzzy searches. We can set up so we can find the vendor matches. Sometimes maybe it's ABC Company Inc., and maybe sometimes it's just ABC Company, but we can make those things all work. All right, so that is kind of the first step in. Once we've recognized the data, then we're going to match up the header information to make sure we've got the right supplier and we can apply it to the right business unit. So then we're going to look at our predefined or pre-configured extraction of data. So these are things that the product is already set up to do for multiple invoices right out of the box. So we're going to find the invoice number and the date. We're going to find the name of the address of the buyer and the business unit. We've got the address of the supplier. You've got your delivery dates, purchase order numbers. And look at your line items. This is the part that is really exciting about this technology, is that we can pull all of this description out of it, the unit numbers, the descriptions for each line, quantities, those types of things, so that we can match those up against existing purchase orders for straight-through processing. And then we can do totals. So one of the things that the system can be set up to do is it can look at the total price column and add up everything that it reads in the total price columns and then match that up to what the total reads at the bottom of the page. So again, another way that we can check that we're getting good reads of the data as we bring it in. So once the document is scanned, we've recognized the data, we matched it up. Sometimes it may not work as we hope. There may be a piece of data missing, there may be a bad scan, maybe it's coming off a fax, maybe there's some difficulties in getting a clean read. So it would then present those invoices to someone to do verification. So in this situation, you're going to have a nice layout of the form. You're going to see the image on the right. You're going to see the data fields on the left that we're trying to read. The ones that are colored red are the ones that we're having difficulty reading. So it's easy to use. It gives you a very visual way of seeing what the information is. It shows you the actual image, and then you can make the corrections to the data. So you can see in this one it's saying that this document has been rejected because the invoice date is required. Well, it can't find the invoice date. For some reason, the invoice date is different maybe than in a previous document. So it tells me what the problem is. It tells me where the problem is. Now I have an opportunity to correct it. So I can manually just type in the invoice date here, and I can move on. Or the beauty of this system is I could also train it to do it the right way the next time we get an invoice from this customer, or I'm sorry, from this vendor. So by training the system, I just simply click on train, I go down to where the date is, I draw a box around it, and now it knows where to look for the invoice date when this particular type of invoice comes into the system. And so next time we shouldn't have to do this again. So that's the beauty of the system. It continues to evolve once you implement it, and as you make changes or as the vendors change their invoices a little bit here and there, you can train it to read the new ones as they come in. And so this system is very easy to implement and easy to maintain as you move forward. And then one of the things that, the great benefits here is we can do PO matching. So we can read the data off of it. We can get our line item information off of the invoice, right? And then we can go to the PO in your system in the data, and we can match it up. So we can look for catalogs, line item descriptions, unit costs, quantities, those types of things. If that all matches, we can pass that straight along. So think about the beauty in not having to touch the majority of your invoices that have been created off of a PO that you've created. Okay, so think of the savings in time and energy of data entry and matching and all those things you do today, if that could all be done in the background, knowing that if there was anything that wasn't exactly right, it would be presented to you to correct or to verify. But if it all matched up perfectly, that would go right on through the system. So there's an immense amount of savings to be had in that. So that's when we talk about touchless processing. So when I have my input, I recognize and I validate all the data. If all the data validates correctly and matches, then it goes right on to the approval process and posting. If for some reason it doesn't, or if we don't have a PO for that particular invoice, there is a place for data review where I can visually look at the information, make corrections, or confirm anything that's been entered. So that's really a quick overview of the product, just to give you a sense of what it does, give you a sense of how it attacks the business challenges that you have today and how it can help you in those areas. And so the solution from ABBYY has some key differentiators. That's hard to say this late in the day. So ABBYY is one of the leaders, or if not the leader, in this technology, so it's a great solution based on their platform. It's a priority of their product development team. They've been working very hard on this for the last 3 or 4 years so they could come with something out of the box. It would need a lot of custom programming. Doesn't care what kind of back-end systems you have. We don't care what your ERP is. We don't care what your document management system is, your accounting, whatever it might be, workflow. We can make it work with what you have today. And it's affordable, highly affordable, inexpensive to implement, and more importantly, inexpensive to maintain long term. As you bring on new vendors, new suppliers, as their invoicing changes, we can move with you. And that is the part that really sets us apart from everyone else. Okay, so I think this says questions, but in reality, we're going to go ahead and do the demo next with Alan. So Olivia, if you would pass the presenter over to Alan. If we had a time when we had a projector, we'd be doing hand puppets on the screen. All right, I think Alan has it, so I'm going to turn it over to him.
All right. I've got a couple different areas that I'm going to cover here. The first being I'm going to show how you can do recognition and verification of invoices, and this is the simple one. I'll be getting back to that subject a little further in the demo with more detail, but this is just showing kind of a first pass at that. So what you see here, oh, and I do have to say one other thing. What you're looking at is a standalone ABBYY installation, which means that it's installed on, it's all self-contained on one computer. In a true production environment, you would mostly have what they call a distributed environment, where you'd have servers, and some of the functions you're going to see here, such as the first one I'm about to do, would be automatic. You would not actually see that. So the first thing I have to do here is to open this batch and recognize these documents that are in it. This normally in a production environment is all behind the scenes. The first time a person would see this at all would be the verification step, which we're waiting for. So you wouldn't wait for this in a normal course of events. And almost done. You can see the count there. It's moving pretty quick, considering this is all running on my laptop. And in the background, you can see the from unprocessed, it's starting to change, and it's saying invoice, and now those are complete. So now the word invoice is just the generic name for it, just says invoice. And on the screen, what we have here is showing a status. You can see these are valid and one's rejected. And the ready for export and verification. And you can see the it has confidence level of reading the characters. So unless you required someone to intervene or take a look at the first ones that are ready for export, they would just move on to the whatever the next step, in this case is export, but they would automatically go to the next step in your workflow. I'm going to show you what it looks like, but normally you would have no reason to look at these. So when I open this, what we see here is on the left a data form, and on the right the actual invoice image. So you see on here it says valid. It tells us it's a type of invoice. It picked up the business unit from the document, the vendor, the invoice number. All this information was scraped off of here. When I click on total, it jumps down here, and we're actually looking at the third page. This is actually the bottom of the third page. So you can see there's all this intervening stuff, but it correctly found where the total is on a multi-page document. That's what that one looks like. There's another one that you can see it's a different invoice. Completely different design, yet it found the same information. It found the vendor, the invoice number. In this case, our total, for instance, is right here on the first page. So it knows where to find things depending on recognizing the invoice. Now there's one here where I've got it says rejected. And it says rejected, and I look here at the bottom, and it's telling me that the problem is it says this total, the value in the field total is not currency. And if we click on this, you can see, in fact, it isn't. It's picked up a date here. In other words, something was wrong with the training of this invoice, and it doesn't know where to find this. I can easily fix this right on the fly, and then the next time it hit one of these ABCD products invoices, it would be corrected. So all I have to do here is delete that, click in the field, I come over here and I click on the actual total, and that's it, it's done. It's now been retrained and would not make that mistake again. So it's that easy, and it's something an operator, you can allow your operators to do. Or if you didn't want them to, this could be rejected, could be passed to an advanced verifier, someone else who deals with exceptions. So that's a choice. All right, so save that. So that's all for that batch there. What I'm going to show you next is I'm going to go into a batch that needs training. So what we have here, open up. All right, I have 4 documents here. Now I'm going to tell it to recognize the first 3. I'll leave the 4th one alone for now. And what you're going to see is that they're all going to come in as rejected. All right. So now, when we go into this first one, we look at this and we say, okay, well, it's telling us that it was rejected, and the reason is, it tells us why. It says that total is a required field, and it doesn't know where to find the total. So I click on the total field. I come over here to my document, and down here at the bottom of the invoice, I've got a number for total. So I do that, and then here there's a button called Train. So what I'm telling it to do is to take what I just told it and learn the rules. Now I go and I do the same thing on the second document. And it's the same error, because it requires 3 samples, 3 corrected samples, to learn and define it for itself what it should do. So again, I do that one. Now I'm going to do the third one. Come down here. And this time when I hit train, it's going to actually take a little bit longer. And it's doing a little bit more, because now it's defining the rules. It's got its 3 samples, and it's saying, all right, I can build that into the system. So now, when I come to this last one, and I tell it to recognize, you're going to see that this time it will apply that rule, and it will work properly. You see it says valid, and if I go in there, it now knows exactly where my totals are. So I trained a new a field in a new invoice that easily, and those are done. All right, now I've got to switch over to another another set here. Now this demo is going a little further. This is going to do some matching of POs with the database. It's also going to be dealing with line items, which wasn't in the first one. So the first thing I'll do here is I'll select those, and I will recognize them. And I'm going to wait for those to go through. And some of these are going to be good, and some are going to be rejected. So as soon as that finishes, you can see it starting in the background there. And again, this is something that would be happening by a server service. You would not normally wait or even see this. All right, there we go. So we've got, let's take a look at a good one first. So I've got an invoice here. You see it's valid. The basic information I had before, invoice data, numbers, and as I click, if you, on the left, if you see on the right, it highlights in yellow the field where it's actually getting the data. What I have further on this, however, is down here I have line items, because this invoice has line items. So now when I click on that, now you can't really, there it is. You click on the article in here, and that matches this catalog number. So you can see I'm looking at the different parts of that. And I could correct it if something was necessary, but there's nothing wrong with this one. So normally it would just go right through the system. Let's take a look at one of these that has a problem. All right, so now what we've got here is a bunch of error messages over here. And what it's basically saying is I couldn't find stuff in the database. And it's saying it couldn't find that because it is missing information. Right here, I have to add that missing value, and then we'll come over here and we'll select the net price. Oh, wait a minute, I missed something here. Working from a very small screen. All right. This, here we go. So I have to go to here. I've got to fix my unit of measure. It didn't read it properly. I do that. I tell it the total price is right here. I give it the price. So I'm pointing to each of these items and pointing those out, missing a unit of measure. Oops, and I picked the wrong one. Sorry about that. I should read carefully. There it is, 173.40. I have to match up the catalog number and do the same on these. And you can see that my, if I could type properly, it would work. My errors are going away here. The last one is it's looking here and saying, okay, something's not right with the name. And all I'll do here is just tell it to reread that. And it is, for some reason, not picking up my name. Well, I've got a some other problem with this particular invoice. It's missing something, and as you can see, the good part is that it won't let you pass an invoice through when there are still problems with it. So all I'm doing here is looking to see if what else it wants from me. And no, for brevity's sake, I'm going to skip to the next one because I don't want to keep doing that. So let's go to the next document. We would come back to that one normally. All right, so, well, not the next rejected, sorry. So now we have another one, we have a different issue here. here we've got a table that's in the wrong place. So what I do is I just clear that, come down here, and tell it that my data is actually there. I tell it it's a line item. And then I tell it where each piece of that is. So in other words, again, I'm training it so that I don't have this problem in another time. Oops. It's description. Very hard on these on a laptop to little screen. This is where a large screen is helpful. Okay, now I've got the description. My quantity is 1. My unit of measure is each. My unit price is there. My total price. And now you see that it already knows about my line items. So I picked the left-hand one, and it filled that in. And then what I do is I go over here, and I just do a right-click, and I tell it to continue that. And it will now duplicate what I've done for the rest of the table. And there we go. So now it's filling things in here, and it still has a few corrections it needs. And again, remember that I am teaching it things as I go here. So there's my right-hand one. And so you see now I'm down to just this last item here. And again, it doesn't like my that, so I'm going to just retrain it and tell it to read the document. And I'm just taking the last pass through my fields, and then I'm moved on to my next document. So so even if there's a problem, the operator can retrain it and fix it right at the time. They don't have to reject it. They can just fix the problem, and then it won't have it the next time round. And that's what I've got.
All right, thanks, Alan. We did have actually a few questions that came in over the chat, and we'll go ahead and answer those questions first, and then we'll unmute the session for anyone who has any other questions. First question is, let's see here, all of the invoices we process look very different from each other. What will that matter to Abby for Invoices?
Yeah, so the beauty of this product is by default, it kind of knows how to look for things. So it looks on the invoice for words like ship to or invoice number or date. And then when it finds it, then it knows to look around it for that particular piece of data. So out of the box, the initial program does much of that right out of the box. So even though your invoices all look different, the system is set up to be able to read those, and that's really the beauty of the product.
All right. Next question. We are looking to outsource our AP. Would Abby for Invoices process invoices be a cheaper option than most of their services?
Yeah, and that's actually a very good question. And I think in many cases people are looking at how can they save money in the AP department and the invoice processing, and certainly outsourcing it is one thought. But frankly, by implementing this type of technology, it's really what most of the outsourced companies are doing today. They're implementing some kind of technology that allows them to charge less for it than what you can do it internally. And I think in many cases, by implementing a system like this, you can get close to the same cost as outsourcing, plus you maintain the control of having that process in-house, which is really a lot of value to having.
All right, next question. Our accounting department works as a shared service for 4 business units. Can Abby process invoices separately for different business units?
Yes, yeah, it's one of the things we talked about just briefly in the presentation is that we can identify different business units by addresses or phone numbers or contact names or things of that nature. So we can keep that separate, and we can do that all out of the same system.
Next question. I think another department may use Abby already. Can I process invoices using their copy of Abby?
So, Abby has multiple products. FlexiCapture is the product that this invoice processing is built on top of. So, if you have Abby in your company for surveys or forms or anything like that, this would be an add-on module to what you currently have. So, there's a good chance, depending on what Abby product you're using, that you could use this.
Okay, that's all the questions we had over chat. I'm going to unmute everyone. Feel free to ask any questions. You guys are unmuted.
I was going to send an email question from the calendar. I can always send it, but I don't answer it.
All right. Are there any questions?
Okay, well, that concludes our Abby presentation for today. If you guys have any questions, you have my email address. Feel free to email me or get on our website, and you can reach us through the Contact Us portion of that website. So have a great afternoon, everyone, and thanks again.